First of all, just want to thank Josh for reaching out. I don't know if y'all were on the call. Josh and I actually went to high school together. That's not how we got connected. He reached out to our VP of partnerships to set something up, and I was kind of thrown in. And happy accident that I'm from Indiana, went to Carmel. Also, Mary Beth for helping organize, as well as Calvin for having me today. As Calvin said, I come from ACloud Guru. I'm an account executive over there. For those who aren't familiar with ACloud Guru, we were started in 2015 when one of our co-founders, Ryan Kroonenberg, was going for a job within Amazon. One of the requirements for his role was to be solutions architect certified, and he found a lot of difficulty finding good online training resources for that. He didn't have the resources to pay for in-person training from AWS, so he said, I'm either going to get this role with AWS or I'm going to start my own cloud education company with my brother. Fast forward to today, he obviously did not get that role with AWS, and we now have a platform that offers training on AWS, Azure, GCP, as well as some Linux technologies. We have licenses designed for individuals, people who are looking to upskill on their own or look for new jobs, as well as for organizations who are either in the consulting or managed services space, or are going through a transition to cloud computing and need to educate and upskill their workforce. In my role, I spend about half my time working with companies that have ACloud Guru licenses, help advise them on best practices, set up their learning paths and things like that to ensure that they hit their goals, as well as searching and finding new logos and new clients to bring onto the ACloud Guru platform. Today, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, how I got involved in cloud computing, what my certification journey has been, and kind of the value that I see in certifications. Obviously not going to get too deep into that, as I think everyone here who's on the call sees the value in certifications. I'm going to go through a little bit about, which certification is right for you, depending on if you're in a role, a developer role, and you're looking to get into like DevOps, or you are in a junior role and really looking at where you need to start with your education. From there, I'm going to get into what my best practices for studying for these certifications, as well as my favorite resources, and then I'll open it up for some Q&A. Again, feel free to stop me at any point if you have any questions. So, a little bit about me. Coincidentally, I am a fellow Hoosier, grew up in Indiana, attended Carmel High School. From there, went to IU, got a degree in finance and entrepreneurship. Was kind of going towards a corporate finance route, but at the last second, had an epiphany and wanted to get into technology, and felt that sales was a way that I could get involved in that community because I didn't have any technical experience. Got a role with Oracle in 2017 and was on a team that focused on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. Was there for about a year and a half. In that role, I really found that I was gaining a lot of sales skills and sales strategy, but really did not have a grasp of cloud computing. I found myself using cloud as an action, a place, a product over the span of one conversation, and really wanted to educate myself on what the cloud was and what the advantages were, and kind of the key services that help people take advantage of that. That's when I got introduced to ACloud Guru. Back in the day, there was no real certification structure for Oracle, so all of my technical counterparts were getting certified on AWS. They were all using ACloud Guru on Udemy, and so that is how I got introduced to ACloud Guru in the world of AWS certifications. Over the next 4 months, I studied for the Solutions Architect Associate and was able to pass that. And then I got 2 other AWS certifications and recently just sat for and passed a Azure certification. certifications have been my way of continuing my education after college. It gives me the ability to speak the language of cloud. I think cloud is a culture and AWS is a language. And whether you're in a technical role, a customer-facing role, if you're dealing with these different services, I think it's good to feel comfortable if people are talking through S3, EC2, Lambda, VPC. I don't necessarily have all the skills to build a production level environment, but I can at least understand what people are kind of talking about. I think a Cloud Guru, as well as these certifications, are really a sign of how education's being disrupted. You can pay, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars to go get a formal education, and a lot of times you're getting a piece of paper that won't necessarily differentiate you from the cloud or from the rest of the people out there. Or you can go get an A Cloud Guru membership for $50 a month, a Udemy course for $12, a yearly membership for $379, and go get a cloud certification and really up-level your career. We see it all the time. We've worked with people who are in the mining industry and transitioned into the cloud computing industry. I recently wrote a blog post about getting certified and had someone reach out to me who is currently in the US Postal Service working for them, and he was looking to transition into cloud computing using our training. And stories like that really make me happy to be with the company that I am and doing what I do, helping people get educated and either up-level themselves as individuals or give them the skills to influence and contribute to an organization as they go through their cloud journey. And so into kind of which certification is right for you. There are 12 certifications out right now. And these are all of them. You have your foundational cloud practitioner, you have your 3 associate levels, your 2 professional level certifications, as well as 6 specialty certifications. I've attached a couple of resources for you to look at. I'm going to send this out to Mary Beth and Josh after this, so hopefully they can send this out to the community so you'll have this. One of them is an article by A Cloud Guru on how to think through certifications, and then the other one is a link to AWS's resources on your role-based learning paths for AWS. But here's kind of how I think about it and how our organization thinks about it. The certified cloud practitioner is really great for people who are just introducing themselves to the world of cloud computing. This is great for people who are in customer-facing roles, who aren't necessarily looking to get hands on the keyboard, not necessarily looking to move into a technical role. It's going to help you understand some of the key services that allow AWS to offer value, what the cost structure is, kind of the differences between traditional IT, racking and stacking servers, and what cloud gives you the ability to do. So that's kind of my recommendation. If you're just very new to cloud, you want a place to start. Certified Cloud Practitioner is a great place to look. We have a course on A Cloud Guru that takes about 4 hours, so not too time consuming, and it is a requirement for everyone at A Cloud Guru, no matter if you're in marketing, sales, any of those different roles, you're required to get the CCP within the first 90 days. So I think that's a great place to start for those roles. On the other hand, if you are looking to get into a technical role and you're ready to make a kind of dive into AWS, I would say, honestly, start with the Certified Solutions Architect Associate. The person who introduced me to cloud certification is a guy named Babu Balasubramanian, and I kind of asked him about going with the Solutions Architect versus the Cloud Practitioner, and he said, solutions architect is kind of like, going to 8th grade and passing 8th grade. If you've done that, you don't really need to go back and show that you can pass 5th grade or 1st grade, was his analogy for choosing between the CCP and the CSAA. It's going to go over a lot of the core services, IAM, VPC, S3, EC2, really give you a good understanding of the core services that allow AWS to offer that value. From there, you have the Certified Developer Associate, which is really good for, going into deploying resources, kind of how your resources are going to interact with the rest of the world with SDKs and APIs. It's going to go into a deeper dive into DynamoDB, Elastic Beanstalk, SQS, SNS. And then you have your Certified SysOps Admin Associate. That's going to really give you a good understanding of services like CloudWatch, really good for people who are actually running production environments, give you an idea of how to track your environment, understand if something's going down, how to get it back up, how to set up alarms and things like that so you don't see different, errors and catastrophes that can happen when you're running production level workloads. That's going to give you that understanding. They recommend that you have a year of experience before going to one of the associate level certifications. I would say, it's a good tip, but if you want to jump into the Solutions Architect Associate, I would say more power to you. Get in there. The course we have on A-Cloud Guru is about 12 and a half hours. So really a great resource. From there is the professional certification. So they have the Solutions Architect Professional and then the DevOps Engineer Professional. The Architect Professional is kind of the pinnacle of AWS certifications. Basically, any service that they offer on the console is going to be fair game there. You need a really thorough understanding of the different services that are offered. And then the DevOps Professional is really good for people who are looking to, run continuously evolving environments, really does a deeper dive into a couple more narrow services. The advice that I found online, I haven't gone for any of these professional certifications, but, if you want to go for the DevOps Pro, it's going to be a good way to set you up for the Solutions Architect Professional, or there is a significant amount of overlap between the two certifications, so you could study for both of those in tandem. Then you have your specialty certification. So these are going to be a narrow focus with a really deep dive on the different services that they cover. So, database specialty is going to be a deep dive on all those database services. Alexa Skill Builder is a great introduction into building Alexa services, which also gives you a great introduction into serverless technologies like Lambda. So kind of in thinking through these certifications, I would say the best way to get a full foundation on AWS is go for the core 5 certification. So start with the Solutions Architect Associate. They advise that you go to the Developer next, and then the SysOps Admin. I actually went SysOps Admin and now working towards my Developer. Get those 3 and then go and get the 2 professional certifications. Another way that you could look at it is going and getting a Solutions Architect Associate. And then if you are in a DBA role, looking to transition into the equivalent role in the cloud space, maybe get the Solutions Architect Associate and then get the database specialty. It really depends on what your goals are. And I think reading through the couple resources that I provided here will give you a good direction. But first things first, I would say always start with the Solutions Architect Associate. It's going to give you such a good understanding of the base services in AWS, and you're going to just build your knowledge off of that. With that being said, these are my favorite resources for studying for certifications. First and foremost, start with A-Cloud Guru. Obviously, I work for them. I did use A-Cloud Guru before coming to the company, so it can be viewed as some unbiased advice there. I've also attached the link to that course as well as the other resources that I have on this slide. But A-Cloud Guru it could get some people 100% of the way there. For other people, it could get you 90% to 95% of the way there. That's going to provide you in the individual license. It will provide you unlimited access to all of the courses on AWS as well as Azure and GCP. Those lectures are going to be, we have some questions here. 1, 2, is there a slide? Beautiful, love it, Ben. Is there a slides link share? I'm not sure about that. Slides link share. So lectures, labs, quizzes, we have an exam simulator, we have forums with commonly asked questions. Yes, I'll share these slides with Josh and Mary Beth after the presentation, and we'll get this out to everybody. And that's going to give you, take you through the course, take you through different quizzes, different labs to actually get your hands dirty, start building out different environments. With the individual tier, we recommend spinning up a free tier environment on AWS so you can follow along and build those different environments. We do have a business license, which comes with other features. This is designed for organizations who are going for either several certifications, looking to scale training. They have a large migration coming up, and they need to prepare everyone for that. That comes with some additional features like our certification accelerator program. Basically, with that, you're able to put everyone into a study group. They're going to receive an email telling them exactly what they need to watch, read, and do every week. For the Solutions Architect Associate, that's about a 10-week training program. And then, those people can have visibility into their teammates. So that builds a sense of camaraderie as well as positive competition. And then, management can have visibility into how people are using the platform, people who are really taking advantage of it. So that's really great. Another great feature that we actually just launched from our acquisition of Linux Academy are our cloud playgrounds. So with this, you can actually spin up an AWS sandbox environment directly from a Cloud Guru and work in those labs and spin up different services to get your hands dirty. We also see some organizations use that for their test and dev environment for different ideas that they have. They want to see if it works, things like that. So a Cloud Guru is a fantastic resource, can get you 95% of the way there or 100% of the way there. The other two resources are practice exams. As I mentioned, came into these certifications with no technical background. So the practice exams is something that I really, really focus on in my training. Two really, really good resources are John Bonzo from Tutorials Dojo. He has different practice exams on Udemy. They come with about 6 full-length practice exams, as well as really, really great explanations of kind of what the correct answer is and different resources you can go and look at. The other one are WizLab's practice exams. Again, super great. These are super similar. I'm not sure how they kind of get these, but AWS has resources where you can basically pay $20 to get a 20-question practice exam. The benefit there is you can kind of get familiar with how AWS is going to ask questions. The downside is they're not going to tell you questions you got right, questions you got wrong. They're just going to send you the kind of output of how you performed on a per domain basis. WizLab's practice exams look very similar to those questions, but they will give you actual explanations and resources to ensure that you fully understand those instead of just getting an overview of what domains you performed well on. So when I go for exams, these are the 3 resources that I use. These are the 3 resources that I recommend. Really, I think if you can utilize these 3 resources to the best of their ability, you'll be in very, very good shape for sitting and passing that exam. So 3 tips for getting certified. I actually wrote an article on LinkedIn, which has a lot of this information. I'll link to it here, but my 3 tips are: surround yourself with a support system, set daily achievable goals, and have a why. So surround yourself with a support system is super crucial. Whenever I've gone for a certification, I've gone through it with either friends, colleagues, teammates within my organization. And one thing you'll find is that a lot of these certifications take multiple months. That's a lot of individual accountability to hold yourself to. When you have someone else there, you're going to be able to hold each other accountable. When you're going through an A-Cloud Guru course together, you'll find yourself, walking around the office saying, va dub dub dub, or metadata, data about data, speaking in Ryan's Australian accent and just goofing around and really feeling like you're getting familiar with these instructors, and it just becomes a good time as opposed to you studying alone and not really having anyone to share that with. You can also ask questions and explain things back and forth. You have some camaraderie going through it, as well as some healthy competition. No one wants to start a certification journey with a group of people, see all of them get certified, and then not go through it. The first time I got certified, I used the Udemy courses I mentioned, went through it with a buddy of mine, and we actually both failed on the first attempt, and we went to the testing center together. I failed by, I think, 2% or 1%, maybe one question. But walking out of that testing center and both failing was much better than us coming in and going and doing that alone. After that failure, is when I was introduced to the John Bonzo practice test, and that's what took me over the edge to pass it the second time. And the next thing is set daily achievable goals. So James Clear has an awesome book called Atomic Habits. Check it out if you haven't read it. But the third law of behavioral change is making it easy. So he says when you're looking to build a new habit, set out an easy goal for the day. If you want to read more, set the goal to read one page. If you want to write more, set the goal to write one sentence. I kind of replicate that in my training approach and how I set those daily achievable goals. So for me, when I'm learning and going through the lectures and labs, my goal is to be 4 A-Cloud Guru lessons a day. We did a study that found that the adult attention span for learning like this is about 20 minutes. So no single lesson in A-Cloud Guru is longer than 20 minutes. So with my daily achievable goal being 4 lessons, I could come in, be lazy, rip off 4 2-minute lessons, and I'm done for the day, and I can feel good about my training for that day because I showed up and did it. Or it could be 4 20-minute lessons, and that's about an hour and a half of training for the day. And as you go and continue coming back every day, you can see on the graph to the left, the amount of repetitions increase the amount of automaticity. I was practicing that word all morning. Before you know it, it's just like second nature coming down and sitting down to study for that certification. Once I'm through the course, I actually switch over to my practice exams. My goal there is to do 1 practice exam a day. Definitely a little bit more of a hike in effort from listening to lectures and doing labs, but you'll feel very quickly your muscle memory and ability to get through those 65 question exams become easier and easier. When I'm practicing to sit for a certification, my rule of thumb is that I will perform 10% better on these practice exams than I will perform on the actual exam. So if the actual exam has a passing score of 720 out of 1,000, I'm trying to shoot for about an 83 to 85% on my practice exams before I feel comfortable going and signing up and sitting for the actual exam. My final tip for getting certified is to have a why. Certifications take time, they take effort, they take sacrifice. A lot of people, won't really understand what you're doing. So you have to have a why. So maybe that is you're looking to up-level your career, looking to get a new job in cloud computing. That's a great why to have. Another why is that your organization is transitioning to cloud computing. I work with companies all the time that are saying, we're buying these 50 licenses for these people. If they don't take advantage of the training that they offer them, I don't see them necessarily having a place within this organization, because once our workload is completely migrated over to AWS, and if you can't speak the language, if you can't build the systems, it's going to be tough to find a place for you to remain with those organizations. So, if leadership is saying that we're going to the cloud and we'd like to get people certified, I think that's a great why. For me, I just like to pursue topics that interest and excite me. The example I use in the article is I was pursuing the developer, but I felt a little bit burnt out by the associate level certifications for whatever reason. I had been doing them for about a year and a half, 2 years, and said, I'm going to take a break and I'm going to switch over and get this Azure certification, the AZ900. Not super difficult, but it introduced me to multi-cloud, and that's something that really interested me and kind of felt like I was learning new things again. While there was more to learn, I was just not as interested or excited. My organization provides extra PTO days for every certification you have, up to 3. I was already at that threshold, so for me it was just figuring out what I was really excited to continue learning about and what would help me in my conversations. With that being said, I hope this was helpful for y'all. This is my first time doing something like this. I've kind of gone through, why I've gotten certified, the different certifications there are and how to think through those, my favorite resources to go out and get certified, and then my 3 tips for getting certified. Hope it was helpful. And with that, I'd love to open it up for any questions that you might have.
Yeah, please feel free to unmute and ask your questions or throw them into the group chat on Zoom. I'm not watching the Slack channel, but I think Zoom's chat's probably better today for Q&A. Speaking of Slack, there were some Slack notifications went off.
All right, we have a question. What would you recommend for going for a pro level cert? Again, I would say start if you don't have those associate level certifications. I think that's a great place to start. I personally have not sat for a professional level certification, but I think in speaking with our instructors and kind of doing some research for this talk, it's going to be so thorough that you're going to have to know all the different services, have ample experience deploying those services and having an understanding of how they interact with each other. So I would just say, do a course, do an A Cloud Guru course, or if there's another instructor out there that you prefer, definitely sit through that course and just continue to build, continue to experiment, continue to get hands-on experience learning how these different services interact with each other, and practice tests. When I'm going for these certifications, my goal at first is to do 1 a day. In the week before, I'll probably do 2 or 3 a day, just to really get my stamina up for those practice exam, or for the actual exam, either when you have to go into a testing center to take that, or if you're taking it right now, you'll be taking it online. Another thing there with taking it online is that they're very strict about how you act on camera. So I'm someone who, when I'm focusing, I kind of mumble the words when I'm reading it, and I do this when I'm thinking. And the proctor very quickly said, "Hey, could you stop doing that?" And the rest of the time, I was so hyper focused on not covering my mouth or not mouthing the words that it was kind of stressful versus the in-person, which is also a little bit stressful. Realistically, how long does it take to get through the initial solutions architect associate level? That's a great question. For me, going through that a couple of years ago with the Udemy course, I started studying in April. took my first try at the certification the first day of July. So about 3 months there, and then I didn't pass that one and then sat for it again 2 weeks later. So that was about 3.5 months. Our Accelerator program takes people through it in 10 weeks, which we recommend there to vote about 3 to 5 hours a week to that training. Our course is about 12.5 to 14 hours. With that being said, I think the biggest point here is what ability and what experience you have coming into the certification. My solutions engineer that introduced me to it had to watch about 35 minutes of videos, and he was like, okay, I get it, and went and passed it with flying colors. Me, I had to come and I was like taking notes on S3 and like, okay, like, and it's just, where are you coming from? What's your experience level coming into it? And then how hard you hit the ground running, I guess, how often you can study on a day-to-day basis. But those are kind of my key points. For me, 3.5 months, Accelerator program, 10 weeks, course length, 12.5 hours. Pro tip, increase Ryan to about 1.5 speed. You can get through it a little bit faster. That's what I like to do. But yeah, it really depends. But those are my kind of rules of thumb that I like to think about and tell people.
Hey, Michael, what did you change between the first taking of the exam where you failed and the 2 weeks later when you passed?
Yeah, so when I first failed, I, again, was using the Udemy course, and I didn't have access to the exam simulator that A Cloud Guru has right now. So basically, the only resources I had for practice tests were the one, mega quiz that A Cloud Guru offered, as well as the quizzes at the end of each chapter. And I think I did one of the AWS practice exams that you pay $20 and don't get a whole lot of feedback back. So I was, going crazy taking this test that I had pretty much memorized by the end of it, and probably wasn't super helpful. What I did in the 2 weeks in between those, first of all, I took about a week to relax and hang out, and then I went out and got those John Bonzo practice exam questions and really hit those hard. Would I need to do that now with where the platform has evolved? I'm not sure. I don't want to have to fail an exam again. So I just always I kind of go overkill with the practice exam questions now and just try to see as many as I can and really not memorize the questions and answer, but really try and understand, okay, what are they trying to test me on? Are they trying to test me how DynamoDB scales, how it automatically scales, or are they trying to test me on what the data consistency with this product is, and not really get too hung up with the individual question, but try to think about what concept are they trying to test me on right now.
Yeah, one of the things I've done is gone through and taken the practice quizzes and exams first before I even look at any of the material, and then only watch the material for the bits that I was shaky on.
Yeah, and that's actually what I'm planning on doing whenever I ramp up for this certified developer. Kind of see the overlap knowledge that I already have, get into the courses where I need to and lectures where I need to brush up, and then really focus on those hands-on labs and things like that as I look to expand my technical skills.
Yeah, Mike, it's funny that you mentioned put Ryan on 1.5 speed. Calvin and I, when we started going through A Cloud Guru a few months back, that was one of our favorite features. Is we can put the video on 2x speed and just fly through them.
Oh my gosh! For anyone who's ever done the accreditation exams on AWS, you cannot speed those up and you cannot skip through them, and it is just
brutal.
Painful.
It's painful.
Yeah, and those are a little bit more dull than Ryan. I've gone through those accreditations as well with the animations and things like that. Yeah. And another great feature is we recently, in the last several months, came out with subtitles. We get some complaints on Ryan's Australian accent, which I love, but the subtitles with the 1.5 speed, you're just, getting the inputs from both levels, and it really helps with the learning.
Mm-hmm. I'm a subtitles guy, so that was really great.
Any other questions for Michael? That handled the how long it takes. Do you I'll preface this with the only certification I have is the cloud practitioner certification.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any reason to actually get that certification? And don't feel bad if you hurt my feelings at all. It won't hurt my feelings at all if you say, no, it's the most worthless thing you could do. I did it just so I could get in the certification lounge at AWS, reInvent.
Beautiful. I love that. I love that rationale. I never read another article about how being able to go in that certification lounge really makes you feel like you're a part of the community. So I love that. I'd say yes. I think, again, you have to look at what your goals are. I think if you are going to be a project manager for a bunch of developers, if you're going to be a salesperson, a consultant who is, maybe you have a solutions engineer who comes on calls with you, but you want to be able to understand the basics of cloud computing, I'd say definitely. I think that's why our customer-facing roles all are required to get certified cloud practitioner. One, to familiarize themselves with Ryan and Faye and their teaching style and understand why people like a cloud guru, but also so you can have base level conversations about AWS. So I'd say yes for those scenarios. If you're going to be hands on the keyboard, I'd say 100% jump to the solutions architect associate. You're going to learn all of those things you learn within the certified cloud practitioner. You'll get a associate level certification and the base level knowledge to go forward there. So I'd say definitely the CCP has value for a lot of people. Maybe you want to get the accreditations and then the CCP and then call it a day on your cloud education, or jump into the solutions architect associate and start building that foundation for a career in cloud.
No, I think that makes sense. That's very fair. Maybe the cloud practitioner is not really targeted to a person like me.
Mm-hmm. So we have learning paths built out for executive level leaders, and the cloud practitioner is the only certification that is within there.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, I was going to ask. I know that the CCP is kind of relatively new.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people would start at the solutions architect level. Do you know if they changed anything in there and kind of made it a little bit more difficult or more in-depth, I guess you could say?
Yeah.
Do the same thing, and they just added kind of the CCP as kind of the intro.
Yeah, that's a great question, Josh. So basically, you're correct. In the past, AWS recommended that everyone start with the Solutions Architect Associate. It was the only certification offered. So within that certification, you would find a lot of information about the cost structure of AWS, the different support plans that you have access to, things like that, the sort of gimme questions that made the solutions architect the base level certification. When they came out with the CCP, they started to kind of drain the solutions architect of a lot of those gimme questions and put those on the CCP as a more introductory certification. And then AWS just launched that new version of the Solutions Architect Associate, which I think encompasses that change, as well as added some new services that have been launched recently.
Cool.
Leads me to a question. I actually have two questions. But the more important one, probably better question is, are there any major changes coming to any of the certifications that people should be aware of before they jump into studying?
Good question.
Yeah, I think the biggest change was this change to the Solutions Architect Associate. A Cloud Guru had to add a lot of new sections there. They've extended the life of the other version of the Solutions Architect Associate with the COVID situation currently. So I think there's a decision to be made there, which of those certifications you're going to sit for. Other than that, nothing at the top of my mind that is coming down the pipeline that would materially change one of these certifications.
And then is it still a requirement? My associate level certs are expiring and I've done nothing to preserve them.
Mm-hmm.
But is it still a requirement to have an associate level certification to go for like one of the specialty certs? Because I'm like interested in the network cert for fun.
Yeah. No, there is no requirement. They used to have that requirement, but they have since changed that requirement. Also, I think 6 months ago, they extended the life of all AWS certifications another year. So not sure if you have that extra year for that certification to last from 2 years to 3 years. But I would say you can definitely jump forward to the networking specialty certification. I have been told that it is the most difficult of the certifications. So I wish you the best of luck.
I'm buying the book for sure.
Beautiful.
We've got a couple minutes if anybody wants to ask 1 or 2 more questions. I want to be considerate of everyone's time.
Does anybody who's attending have any advice having gone through a pro level certification?
Yeah, please throw it out there. If anybody on the call has gone through a real certification.
I've got everything but the pros, and I'm going to be going for one of those in the next couple of weeks. I don't disagree with anything that's been said so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to do the DevOps Pro one in a couple weeks, and then hopefully the Architect one in a while.
So what did you do to prepare?
Well, I'm at Liberty Mutual currently, and they've got a limited rollout of a Cloud Guru. So I'm doing the Ryan course, and I'm gonna find a couple practice exams. Although I'm guessing that I haven't fully explored it, I'm guessing that with the Liberty Mutual membership, I've got practice exams at a Cloud Guru.
I have a Solution Architect Associate exam certification.
Ravi, can you say that again? I didn't quite hear it.
Yeah, I passed the Solution Architect, and I used what is it, WizLab ones. They are really helpful for me.
Cool, thanks.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well,
And Michael, thank you so much for being here.
yeah, thanks for having me. Shameless plug. My day job is as an account executive for Cloud Guru. So if your organization would be looking into business accounts, please reach out to me. Also, I have a couple of articles I've written on LinkedIn that I think could be helpful to the certification effort. But Calvin, Josh, Mary Beth, everyone, thank you so much for having me.